Hey guys, I'm here at the Minnewaska Area High School today by Glenwood, Minnesota. This is where I graduated from about 100 years ago. I'm going to talk with students today about what it's like to be involved in production agriculture. Have any of you ever heard of YouTube? Yeah, a couple of you have. Okay, well I'm gonna put you guys on YouTube because I have a YouTube channel where I talk about farming and I talk about the things that I do every day on my farm and why we do them. Okay, so my name is Zach. I'm a farmer from Lowry. I grew up on the family farm. I graduated from here in 2003. I went to Bemidji for 2 years to tech school and I came back to the family farm after that. You're all here because you have an interest in farming. How many of you live on a farm? Few of you. So you guys know that every day is different, and I frequently get asked what I do day to day, you know, especially in the winter. What does a farmer do in the winter? We don't have any livestock. Since we're in winter right now, I'll just start and tell you guys that one of the big things we do in the winter is a lot of bookwork, which we have to do. We have to get it done. We have to manage the business. We make sure we keep accurate, up-to-date balance sheets, which we do every winter. From there, we'll do a cash flow. We'll go through project out our expenses and our incomes for the next year. The other thing we do is financial analysis, so we'll go back and compare last year's cash flow and compare it to how the finances actually ended up. Now we're about into February now. That's actually February and oddly enough July are my easy months of the year. In about 4 to 6 weeks we're going to start working on equipment again. We get out into the shop and get outside and start getting things ready. Once we get into planting, it goes quick, you know. We move fast when we're planting. Every day you wake up and think you're gonna get, you know, I'm gonna plant 300 acres today. It's gonna go good. It was going good last night. Why wouldn't it go good now? And one breakdown can shut the whole thing down for the whole day. And so it's frustrating and it's challenging, but at the same time it's unique and it's fun, and you're out there in the outdoors, which is what I love to do. Once we're done planting, we get into the summer. And the biggest thing in our summer is spraying. One of the downfalls of it is that when it's not windy out and the weather's nice, you have to be out there spraying. If you got to get those acres covered, you have to get them covered. And if it's a Sunday afternoon and the kids want to go to the beach, you still have to be out there spraying. Somebody's got to be in that sprayer getting the job done. The end of the summer kind of winds down and gets quiet for a few weeks, and then into harvest, everybody knows, if you're from around here, how busy harvest can get, and that's harvest. You know, I don't know how else to say it. It's busy. It's every single day, Saturday, Sunday. It's grueling. Some harvests are a lot easier than others. This last one was definitely busy. Up around here, when it's harvest time, we got to harvest our stuff. So we've got to go out and get that corn off the field, because where we're at here, eventually we're going to get a ton of wind and we're going to get a heavy wet snow. And late in the fall, when that corn is dry, those stalks get brittle, and eventually they're going to fall down. So you got to get them combined when you can. And then we get back to doing book work and cash flows and that kind of thing, and it all cycles. So one of the things I love about my job is that it's always different. And there are times when I hate that about my job too, you know, but for the most part, I love that it doesn't get monotonous. These guys bring a PowerPoint and a whole bunch of banners, and this is what I brought right here. For me, farming is rewarding. It's flexible, and it's an awesome way to teach my kids. Probably sounds corny to you guys, but it's an awesome way to teach my kids the cycle of life and hard work and all of those things. When it's time to get the job done, you wake up in the morning and you go do it, and you be proud of what you do every day. My kids are involved in a lot of different things, and I'm lucky enough that most of the time I have the flexibility to be able to schedule myself to go do stuff with the kids. There are times of the year, you know, harvest, planting, those nice days when I have to be in a sprayer. I can't do those things on those days, so it is tough then. But you know, most jobs on a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, if they were asked to come to the high school and talk to high school students for half the day, it'd be tougher for them. And for me, it's not a problem. So flexibility is a big benefit to my job. The technology is a part that I really think is fun. Every day I hear something new going on in agriculture. And if you're not involved in it and you drive down the highway here and you see corn and beans every other field, and you think the guy went out there and he just planted his stuff, and maybe there wasn't a lot that went into that. He threw seed in the planter and he went out there, and in the fall he'll combine it. It's not exactly that simple. We've got programs now where you can get down to 100 square feet, where you're taking a 10 by 10 chunk of field. You can individually test that 100 square feet, and it'll all be thrown into an algorithm and put onto the computer for you, and it'll tell you, it'll write you a map of, here's how much nitrogen that spot is going to need if you want to grow this much corner beans. Here's how much phosphorus. Here's how much potassium. And you can put your fertilizer on in 10 by 10 foot sections, different all the way across that field, because those tests told you you can grow 200 bushel corn over here, you're only going to grow 140 over here. So your fertilizer doesn't need to be the same. So I can be way more efficient with my fertilizer. And on top of that, now we're putting our fertilizer on using RTK, which is a GPS technology. That's this right here. This globe right here is communicating with how many satellites? 30, 40? Yeah. To tell those satellites in less than 1 inch accuracy where that tractor's at on the field. And I'm putting my fertilizer down in 30-inch strips, because that's what we plant, is 30-inch rows. That's how wide our corn and soybean rows are. So I'm putting the fertilizer down in 30-inch strips directly, exactly where I'm going to come back 5 months later and plant that corn. They've got grain carts now that they don't need a driver in that tractor. So when the combine gets full, the combine operator hits a button on the touchscreen, the grain cart knows he's full, that cart comes running up and lines up directly with that combine, stays the same distance from them and same speed, and will just drive itself while you unload. Once it's full, it knows you quit unloading, that cart will turn around and it knows where the truck's at. It'll go back and unload into the semi. You don't need a driver for a grain cart anymore. They've got sprayers now that they're working on where you can go across the field and the sprayer will read where there's a weed, rather than just putting the boom out there and we're driving across the field and we're putting 10 gallons to the acre on everything. This will spray every little tiny individual weed so that you're down to, I would say you're going to save at least half your chemicals on that. And so that's something that I don't know a lot about yet. It hasn't gotten big, but the technology's there. They have it. It's coming. It's going to be the future. That's as simple as that. That's one of those things that's coming. So that's a part of the job that I do love. The other thing is pride. I know it sounds a little corny, but there's a ton of pride in managing your own land and your own resources and putting your own time and money and your own investment and putting everything you've got into planting a crop and watching it grow, taking that crop in and doing all that on your own, with your family and seeing it come to fruition there's pride in that. Some of the stuff I don't like about my job, there are no benefits. I'm self-employed. We don't have, there's no 401k match or anything like that, if you guys know about that. The retirement plan has to come from me. I got to figure that out for myself. There's no health insurance benefits, that kind of thing. That can be pretty frustrating, but it's, it comes with the job. It's high risk. The income from one year to another, can be so far apart that it's unbelievable. Consistency would always be nicer, but that's a part of it. It's a long-term thing. You don't go into farming to get rich this year. You go farming because you love what you do, and hopefully 30 years after you've been doing it, you have something. Weather is tough. We're always at the mercy of weather, and we can't do anything about it. And we can have a huge yield or we can have no yield because of the weather. So we can do everything right for an entire year, and we can spend all of our time trying to figure out how to do something right, and the weather can completely change that for us. Other similar careers, I was asked to kind of hit on some of that. So we've got GMOs. A lot of you have probably heard of that, genetically modified organisms, genetically engineered seed. Scientists in a lab will take that seed and transfer genes underneath a microscope. And I plant corn now that is completely resistant to corn borer, which are the caterpillars that used to come through and eat that corn. So now instead of having to go out and spray that corn with pesticide, it's completely resistant to them already. There are none of those caterpillars in my field. And that's something that scientists were able to do in a lab. There's technology like that, even bigger stuff coming, where they can really individually select the traits in the genes. So there's a lot of scientists behind agriculture. That's a cool, kind of a cool part of what we do that can tie into agriculture, but yet, you're not a farmer at that point. You're still working for agriculture, you're still feeding the world, but you're not a farmer. Technology again, those tech companies, there's a lot of guys out in Silicon Valley working on companies that I haven't even heard of yet that are that are doing really cool things for agriculture. Marketing, when it comes to marketing, we're pretty proactive with marketing. There's probably a lot of jobs in that. There's a lot of marketing companies out there that help farmers. So we will hedge our grain on the Chicago Board of Trade, which is basically like the stock market for commodities. There is definitely jobs in the marketing, in ag marketing. There's the obvious things like, you know, if you want to be a farmer, you've got to be somewhat mechanical. You don't have to be the guy in the coveralls that loves working on stuff every single day. You can be. There's a lot of guys that are, but you have to be at least somewhat mechanical. You know, you have to kind of understand what's going on with the equipment. You got to be able to drive trucks and big equipment. You know, that's a part of it. It's a big part of it. So, like a mechanic or a trucker, obviously an agronomist. I work with an agronomist all the time. He helps me put together the data on my soils. He lets me know what he sees guys getting a return on. For those of you guys that know anything about livestock, any of you guys have livestock? Yeah, so you guys understand that, the protein and the sugars and the way they're mixing the feed in order for those animals to be efficient as possible and be as healthy as possible. So you guys know about the nutritionists and the vet techs and the people that help take care of animals. Those are some jobs that would have a lot to do with it. I'll put my boring list away now. Do any of you guys have any questions? Nothing? Oh, my wife says I got to get a selfie with you. I got to fit everybody in there. That was awkward, huh? Well, that was a lot of fun. I appreciate the students for coming and listening to me. Hopefully they enjoyed it just like I did. Thanks to the school for getting me out there. I appreciated that, and I hope I can come back next year. And maybe next year I'll get more students because they'll want to see themselves on YouTube. Thanks for watching, guys.